Hello and welcome. My name's Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind The Country Chic Cottage. Cricut recently released a feature to allow you to warp text right in Cricut Design Space. So this is a very exciting update. And first of all, I want you to know that if you're watching this video when it comes out, this feature may still be in beta. So you might have to change your Cricut Design Space to the beta version in order to see it. And we are going to go over how to do that in just a minute. I did also want to note that this feature is only going to be for Access subscribers. So if you don't pay for Cricut Access, you won't be able to use this feature, at least in the future. They may have it on a trial basis for now, but remember you will need Cricut Access in order to use it. So in this video, we're going to go over the Cricut Warp feature in Cricut Design Space and how to use it. And then I'm going to show you 3 other free online tools you don't have to pay anything to use, that you can warp text with those tools and then import your design into Cricut Design Space. So even if you don't have Cricut Access and you don't want to pay for it, I'm still going to show you how to warp text. So let's take a look at warping text with Cricut Design Space and with 3 other programs. First, let's take a look in Cricut Design Space. So if you do not see the warp text feature or the things I'm talking about, it's probably still in the beta version of Design Space. To get there, click the 3 lines in the upper left-hand corner and go to Settings. And then make sure your application experience is on beta. When you switch it to beta, it may download a new version of Design Space. And then you should see the warp text feature up in your toolbar. Now it is grayed out at this point, so let's add some text. So I'm going to add Dream, Create, Inspire. And once we have this text, you can see the warp text is now highlighted and we can start playing with warping this text. Before we do that, we can change the font. So let's find a font. So I'm going to go with one of my system fonts and it's called Funky Grunge, and I will link to this font below if you wanted to use it specifically. And then I'm going to move these closer together before we start playing around with them. So now I have something I think I can work with here. So now let's start playing around with the warp text feature. So when we pull this down, we can see first of all that this is only with Cricut Access. So we will need to subscribe in order to do that. I do have Cricut Access so I can play around with it. And you can just start clicking each of these features and seeing what happens. And just sort of playing with the design to get the look that you're going for. So I want a waved text feature on this version, so I'm going to go with this wave here. So as you can see, first of all, it really distorts my font and my text. So you can play around with this, extend it out, bring it back in, but there are no adjustments. You can't adjust the amount of wave that's in the text. You can't do anything to adjust what's happening here. And then at this point, if I want to change the text, I absolutely can. It is still text. And I'm going to see if it will look any better if I make it all caps. So we can adjust again how close everything is and maybe even adjust the letter spacing some. So there is some adjustment, but there's definitely not as much adjustment as I would like to see with this feature, but I can get something that looks okay. So after playing around with it a few minutes, I have something that looks like this, and it looks okay. Like I said, I'm not crazy about the lack of adjustment I have with this feature the way it currently is. So now if we go to ungroup to letters, you'll see that it is messing up. So they might fix that at some point so you could move each individual letter. As of right now, it is not working that way. Then if we say put a square and we wanted to slice away a portion of this, let's say we wanted to slice away the D. If we pick both of these, you can see that slice is not an option with the waved text feature. So there's not a ton you can do once you warp the text. You're kind of left with the very few tools you have on hand. Letter spacing, line spacing, you can change the alignment, you could change the font size, and you could change the font itself. So a few changes, but you can't really tweak this very much. You can, however, do an offset with the text after it's warped. So we could do a small offset here, click apply, and then make that offset a different color. So we could do some fun things with the offsets. The warp feature is only available for text. So here I have just a basic shape and you can see that I cannot warp it. And then if I go to images, even if I find an image that is text, so it does not necessarily have to be an image, this pulls in as an image itself. So when I pull this text in, the warp text feature is not available because this is coming in as an image. Then the same thing would go if I had this image, which is not text, but just an image. Again, the warp would not be available. So it is only for text elements when you use text in Cricut Design Space. Now, what is something you can use this feature for? So let's say I wanted to make a banner flag. So I have my flag here and I want to put letters on it. Just putting the letters on the flag would not look too great, right? But if we were to use the warp text and do something that is a flag type of shape, then you can maybe start to see what you would use this function for and what you could make with it. Now this font, the D isn't looking too great, so I might play around, choose some different fonts, but you can see that the type of things you can create with this feature. Now let's say I don't like this font and I want to pick a different font. Let's scroll down here. And I wanted to show you what happens when you pick a multi-layer font. So you can see that some of the fonts in Cricut Design Space are multi-layer, and when you click those, they're not compatible with warp. Let's click use anyway and see what happens. So you can see I can get the font, but now it is not warped, and that warp text feature is not an option. If I take and delete off the other layers, pick the word, the warp text feature is still not an option. So you really can't use multi-layer fonts with that warp text. So I played around, found a font I really like with the banner flag. The font I like is this font right here. And I really like it with this banner. And now I could resize it. And now you can kind of see a project idea with this feature. Now, what if you don't want to pay for Cricut Access, but you really want to warp or wave your text? So I'm going to take this same Dream, Create, Inspire design and try it in a few different programs that are free, where you can download from those programs and upload to Cricut Design Space and use that warp text within Cricut Design Space without needing to pay for access. And some of these I actually like better, especially for this waved text feature here, because I have more control over the waving and can do a few more things. Let's take a look at 3 different programs to do that in. PhotoPea is a free online program. Now you will see several ads on the side, and that's what actually makes the program free. So we're going to click New Project, and I'm just going to use this for the warp text. There are several things you can do with this. So what I like to do is just do inches and do 8.5 by 11. You could do 12 by 12. Anything would import into Cricut Design Space. And then just click Create. And then you'll click Text. And again, we're going to do the Dream, Create, Inspire. And we're going to center this text up. We'll have to center each of the lines. And we'll zoom in on this a little bit so we can see it better. Then we can highlight the text. We can increase the size of it. And we could also change the font. Now, in order to use your own fonts, you do have to load them into this because it is an online software. I'm not going to load my font into there. I'm just going to kind of pick from one that they have, but you can do load font and load your own font. So I found a font I think will work. I'm going to click the text over here on the side, and that's where we can change things like we did before with the line spacing. So I do want to change the line spacing. Something like that looks pretty good. And now within this text bar, we can click warp. And we have several styles here. I am going to go for that flag wave thing that I did before. So this has two different options. It has flag as well as wave. So let's take a look at the difference between those. Flag is something similar that we got in Cricut Design Space. Let's, however, click wave. Now you can see it's a little bit different. So it is a square shape, but the text is waved within that square. I frankly like the wave a bit better, but with either of these, so let's go back to flag. I can change the bend. So I can just make it bend a little bit. I can even distort it horizontally or vertically. So I could do a bunch of different things within PhotoPea. So I'm actually going to go back to wave, and I'm going to make it the way I would like to make it. So I would like to make it wave, and you could do vertical or horizontal. I'm going to do horizontal, and I'm going to bend it quite a bit here, and I'm going to click OK. And now we just need to click the check mark to confirm in the upper toolbar. So now we have a text feature that I personally like a little bit better, and we need to get this into Cricut Design Space. So we need to File, Export as PNG. Then we can save it as a PNG and click Save. And now we can upload that into Cricut Design Space. So let me go ahead and show you the other two tools, and then we'll upload all of our examples at once and kind of compare and contrast them. Next up is Kittl. I've shown Kittl before. I do just have a free account at the moment, so this is only on the free account. I'm going to click New Project. We can just choose a size, so I'm just going to go with a standard here. And we're going to click Text, click Add Headline, type in your text, Dream, Create, Inspire. Then we can change to a different font. With this one, if you want to use your own font, you would need to pay for the subscription. So I am going to pick one that will work with this design. And then we can make this larger, and we can adjust the distance between. That looks pretty good. And now we want to distort it. So down here under transformation, you can see a variety of ways to do that. So the only thing with Kittl is that you would need to do each word individually. So if I click one of these transformations, you can see that the other two words go away. So flag, wave, rise, you can see that it's only the single word. So we'll just go ahead and do flag. But on this, we have unlimited adjustments. So you can see that I can move these and alter them to be whatever angle I would like. So I can tweak it and get it exactly the way I like it. And then we're going to click confirm. Then I'm going to copy and paste it, make another copy. And of course, you can see that it is all still there, but I'm going to delete off everything except create. And then we have the next word. Then we're going to copy and paste dream again. And we are going to edit it and get just inspire. So now we have all three of our words, and we can play around with the spacing a little bit. But you can see I can really control the design within Kittl, which I really like. And then the same way as we did for PhotoPea, we would just need to export this. So we are going to download, and we're going to download as a ping, and our project has downloaded. So now let's take a look at one more way to make this design. Inkscape is actually a free program, and you put it on your computer. And I'm just going to add some text here, and then we'll type dream, create, inspire. And we can make the text larger here. We can change the line spacing. We can center it up. And then we can change the font. Since it's on your computer, you can get the same font we had in Cricut Design Space. So any font on your computer will work in Inkscape. Now that I have this in here, it's the font I want, I can kind of resize a little bit more. And let's make it a little larger so you can see. Select your text, path, stroke to path, then path, path effects, this window should open up. If there's something else here, click the X to close it. And we'll click the plus button to add an effect. Now there are many, many effects within this program. I personally like the lattice deformation one, but a lot of people use the bend. You can play with whichever one you want. So I'm going to go ahead and add lattice deformation. And you can see it brings up a bunch of things here. Then click up here in the left-hand corner, Edit Paths by Nodes, and you'll see a bunch of different nodes. Now I can pull and drag these however I would like and start waving my text. So this is completely like unlimited. I can warp this however I would want at this point and create text that is all my own. So I do like the control that this offers me and being able to warp and wave it however I would like. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of play with this, get a wave that I really like, and then again we will export this. Alright, so now let's say this is perfect. This is just how I want my text to be. This is the warp that I want. So now we'll do File and Export PNG Image. Then you just make sure everything looks okay over here. Go ahead and pick where you want the file to go, and then we'll click Export. So now let's head to Design Space and import all of these. So now I have the first version of my design here, and it is the Cricut version. So I'm actually going to type Cricut. So now we can see that that version is from Cricut Design Space. Now let's import our other versions, and you will do each of these the same way. We'll click Upload, and then Upload Image and find it on your computer. I always click Complex and click Continue. And for some of these, you'll probably have to remove the background. So I'm going to remove the background here, and I'm going to zoom in. And I'm going to remove the background from the centers of any letters. We'll click Apply and Continue. I'm just going to make sure everything looks okay. You can do the cut image or the print then cut and change it later. It does not matter. And click Upload. And go ahead and click it and click Add to Canvas. So here's that version after I brought it in from PhotoPea. I'm going to go ahead and bring the other two in as well in the same manner. So here are all four of those on one canvas. Now I will say the Inkscape version comes in with the background already removed, so that's kind of nice. Kittl, I know you have to pay for that feature, and PhotoPea, I just did not see that feature, and it may be in there and maybe I just missed it. However, you can see that I had way more control with all three of the other options that I tried that are free rather than the Cricut option, especially with this one that is a flag or a wave text feature. Now some of the other warp features would definitely work within Cricut Design Space, like that flag I showed you. But for me, if I am going to say warp my text or wave my text, I am probably going to use another program and pull it into Cricut Design Space rather than use the feature that's in Design Space already. And with any of these, now that they're in here, we can do things like the offset. We could add the offset to any of these. So you could do anything with these that you could do with the image at this point within Cricut Design Space. So now all that's left to do is for you to pick your favorite way to warp text. So one of these might have looked easier than another to you. That's fine. You might have wanted to stay with only an online program, so PhotoPea or Kittl would be the solution for you. You might have used Inkscape in the past and think, oh wow, I'll just use it because I'm used to it in order to do this new warp text type of thing if you've never done it before. So it's just going to depend on your needs, and perhaps you're a Cricut Access subscriber and you love their warp text feature. That's okay as well. For me, I don't like that I don't have control over a lot of the features in Cricut Design Space. If they add that later, I definitely will probably just use it right in Cricut Design Space because I do pay for access and I do find it worth it. However, right now with the lack of control over the warp features, I'll probably use a different program, warp my text, bring it into Cricut Design Space and use it that way. Now, for me personally, I have other programs on my computer that are paid and I might use one of those, but these free programs that I've showed you work great and allow you to warp text for free without having an Access subscription or any other subscriptions at all. So use these, play around with them, pick your favorite, and then start creating those designs to use with your Cricut machine. So if this video helped you, if you liked it, give us a thumbs up. If you have any questions about anything we've covered, drop down in the comment section, ask away. If you haven't already, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We have videos just like this one every single week, and trust me, you don't want to miss any of those. So thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.